You ever wonder why some people just seem to get money and build wealth almost effortlessly, while others, struggle their whole lives? Well, today we're going to dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a book that argues it's not about your paycheck, it's about what's going on up here in your head. And it all starts with this incredible story about two dads. Okay, so picture this. You're a kid, and you've got two father figures. One of them tells you, hey, the love of money is the root of all evil. But then the other one comes along and says, nope, it's the lack of money that's the real problem. I mean, right off the bat, you've got these two totally conflicting worldviews. This single contrast right here is the foundation for absolutely everything. And this is so important. This isn't some dry textbook full of financial rules. It's a story. It's about a kid who's literally caught between two worlds, two different ways of thinking, and he has to choose which path he's going to follow. And that choice is everything. All right, so let's properly introduce these two guys. It's a classic tale of two dads, really. One's path, well, it leads to a lifetime of just getting by. The other, he ends up becoming one of the richest men in all of Hawaii. Okay, and this is where it gets really fascinating. The poor dad, this guy was brilliant. We're talking a PhD, studied at top-tier universities, the whole nine yards. But when he passed away, he left behind a pile of unpaid bills. Now, contrast that with Rich Dad. This guy didn't even make it past the 8th grade, and yet he built this massive empire. This just completely shatters that idea that you need a fancy degree to be wealthy, right? So this puts you right in the author's shoes, doesn't it? If you had these two men in your life giving you polar opposite advice, who would you actually listen to? The super educated guy who's always stressed about bills, or the school dropout who seems to have it all figured out? And that choice really brings us to the absolute heart of the book. It's not about how much money you make. It's not about your job title or your education. It all comes down to your mindset. It's what you think that matters. So, what did that poor mindset sound like? Well, it usually boiled down to one phrase, a real conversation killer: I can't afford it. And just think about those words for a second. I can't afford it. It's a full stop, a period. Your brain just shuts down. There's no problem to solve, nothing to figure out. It's game over. Rich Dad, though, he wouldn't even let the author say those words. He made him flip it. Instead of a statement, he turned it into a question. How can I afford it? See the difference? It's huge. A question doesn't shut your brain down. It kicks it into gear. It's like, okay, brain, we've got a challenge here. Let's get to work. It turns a brick wall into a puzzle you can actually solve. You know what Rich Dad called that I can't attitude? Mental laziness. That's it. It's just letting your brain get lazy when it comes to money. Instead of making it do some push-ups by asking, how can I? You're just letting it sit on the couch. He said your financial brain is a muscle, and if you don't use it, you lose it. And this leads to a really powerful idea he taught. There's a huge difference between being broke and being poor. See, being broke is just temporary. You're short on cash this month, no big deal. But being poor, that's a mindset. It's a way of thinking that can stick with you forever, no matter how much money you're making. Okay, so let's get practical. How did these different mindsets actually show up in the real world? Because these weren't just theories, they led to completely different advice on how to live your life. This chart just says it all, doesn't it? When it came to jobs, Poor Dad's advice was, find a great company to work for. Rich Dad, he said, find a great company to buy. Talk about a different perspective. On risk, one said, don't take any. The other said, learn how to manage it. And the big one, your house. Poor Dad thought it was his biggest asset. Rich Dad said, no way, my house is a liability. It's like they were playing two totally different games. So if we zoom in on Poor Dad's priorities, it was all about security. Getting that stable paycheck, those regular raises, a government pension, health benefits, the whole package. It's that classic employee thinking. I'll work hard and the system will take care of me. Rich Dad, on the other hand, was coming from a completely different place. His focus was 100% on financial self-reliance. He was thinking about creating investments, building businesses, and becoming so financially savvy that he could create jobs for other people, not just go out and get one for himself. So, you can see the two paths laid out, clear as day. The author is standing at this fork in the road, and he has to choose. And that one choice, well, it was going to define the rest of his life. And get this, he made this life-altering decision when he was just 9 years old. 9! That's when he decided, you know what? I'm going to stop listening to my smart but struggling poor dad about money, and I'm going to start learning from my rich dad. It's incredible, and it really shows you it's never too early to start learning. Years later, he looked back on that moment and thought of that famous Robert Frost poem. You know the one, Two Roads Diverged in a Wood. He saw those two philosophies as two different roads, and he took the one less traveled, the path of financial education instead of just job security. And as he said, that made all the difference. Which brings us to what might be the single biggest takeaway from this whole thing. Real sustainable wealth, it doesn't actually come from having a lot of money. It comes from financial education, from understanding how money works. Because think about it, money can disappear overnight. But that knowledge, that's what lets you build wealth again and again. Rich Dad's whole philosophy can really be boiled down to a few core guideposts. Things like the rich don't work for money and mind your own business. These weren't complicated formulas. They were simple, powerful ideas that became the bedrock of everything he learned over the next 30 years. And so that leaves us with a final question, one that I think is worth asking yourself. When you look at your own life, your own job, are you working for your money? Or is your mind working to make your money work for you? Really think about that, because your answer, well, it could change absolutely everything.